Alright, Mason Robot, you ready for some divine words from your high command? I'm gonna give them to you. Okay, so I just finished something up and I've got it fresh in my mind. You've probably seen some of this before, if you've seen my maps before. But I'm really starting to get into the topic of sector analysis. I have been for a while. Um, and I wanted to do that with a BioTitan here. When we're looking over the difference of scale, this is roughly the same mile. I got them roughly in the same size, but this is Washington D.C. Pretty busy comparatively to my little smoky town with a bunch of little river towns along the way and these really nice little nodes where they come in. Obviously, some of the problems I have, I could throw ordnance at this dragon and get nowheres comparatively to what that Biotitan bug is. It is the last bug you will ever see because you tried to take the system and Tony Stark it like this. Well, realistically, the land topology is not flat, especially in my little town. And it's not flat in two regards. Honestly, time topology, because there's a big hill right here. This is all a hill. This is a big hill. This is a big hill. This is a huge ass hill. But it's all forest. Right? Let's get back to my one picture here. Oh, I thought I had a picture of Mountain Town. Well, in that very little area, you can tell how big of a mountain that is right there. Well, this is that one right there, inside of there. And so there's a big problem with how you exactly want to go about restructuring that. From here, we don't have a choice. We have to be able to play the game from this form of the topology. And I'm going to get into what these other pages are as I break this down. I actually started with the school, so I'm going to have to form some basic syllabus in this. And it's going to be real simple because I don't have... This whole thing could be a syllabus if I wanted it to be. And then we're going to get into the police station. I'm going to work me out 21 and 42 feet. A little bit of the jujitsu. A little bit, just the real basic stuff because I want a yoga jujitsu therapy center, but it's kind of all mixed in, right? It's a biobug with the UHS facilities and things like that. Hancock Central School, police, fire, and EMT. After we've done my first page, because I got to do the elementary school and a high school, it's more about the audit bones work there. Like, what should somebody see for teaching supplies? And I'm going to definitely be pounding this. This is what I'm going to take my time on because I want to make sure I get a good foundation for it. No, this is not my conquest book. This is also not my Scale Keepers book or famine book. We've all seen Salty and Bones, right? And that's education and a bit of a militaristic structure. It's not really all of them into it, just like it's not really a syllabus. And when you do the treasury stuff like the S&P, candlestick diagrams, adjusted EBITDA equations, just whatever packs that in from a conquest standpoint, from a treasurer. Here I got it marked as the insurance company, tax, equity, 401k thing. So they might be more than one building, right? You know that this is the high school. I'm not really marking it in here. I'll get to the point once I grid this off, and I give it the A's and B's that I need it to be, and I'll probably have to use a couple of mathematical symbols to finish it off before I use numbers, just how big this grid is. But that'll be alright. I still got grid the same way. Yeah, we'll get down here to the cat and dog house of ill repute here in a minute, and the smoke shops, the pot, cigs, and booze, and why they're colored red in a minute. They can be purple. They're definitely not a green or a blue. If you this blue shifting to red shifting away, you have to have these core indexes. They are your sector analysis. You're hard set to say that you're anything with any kind of population before we get into this. Now that I've quantified this to about 40 or 50 pieces, considering there's 39 in here with, again, the multiples, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Yeah, there's about 50 of them in here, individual buildings, but they're schools. What would it take when you see inside here residential properties? I think it's somewhere in here. Well, anyways, somewhere's in here there's in a residential property line. Well, our school is built off of is a brick building, and there's two of them, and that means that they're set to have a certain number of housing in there. So that's going to give me a basic number of mothers and fathers that I have. Okay, don't think about businesses yet. We're not there in that part of the universe where this is wrong just yet. We're probably going to have an abundancy or a lag one way or the other eventually, but that's going to tell us which type of sector we really need to put something like that into, giving what we have high rabbits or high calc in one form or the other. Carpenters, plumbers, are they, once this skill set kind of breaks down, jiu-jitsu and yoga, well, that's kind of the cop, doctor, EMT. Grocery can be a farm index, and that's starting to add up off of all these sectors, roughly the population you would need, and therefore the rough housing you would need, and therefore the rough commercial businesses you would need, I'd imagine, to give you some bones mechanics on what the population should be. Now, and this is that Mayorkic issue about the southern border here. This is our southern border. It's a mathematical grievance at, below the decimal, just to have fun here. But infinities work that way. When you multiply by something by a tenth, you get a big number, right? And then, you do that thing, or however that works. But at any rate, we can't just bulldoze town, but it's easier to bulldoze this town with this type of idea of a thing, because people are going to be way more willing to change the foundation than something like the compass and square, or this land or this lake formation over here. That could be the ocean, I'm not really sure. But at any rate, this was all built on a Zeno's time paradox, right? So to say that they were perfectly designed, or this is perfectly designed, isn't quite right, but it's also not quite wrong. There's going to be little things in the zoning board, in the collusion aspects of the Dollar General or the mom and pop gas station, a Walgreens, or the mom and pop pharmacies. Over in here, we're probably going to have a lot more of something like that. But is it regionally to the node something I can say is adjustable, or even through public transformation? Nothing really over a mile or two out of what would be in this ring, because again, very small place, kind of super spread out. If we could put that type of concentration in an area like this, then we'd be real close, and we'd have a lot of room for housing and other commercial businesses. You would want to structure it, again, for me, we got the town square here. That's exactly where it is. This is actually a big-ass hill, and right here is the top of the hill. Oh, no, excuse me. Right here is the top of the hill, because it comes down into the other side. But all this is all up. This is just one big uphill here. This is downhill here. And then you get into these nice little flat nodes over in here and over in here, and all this back here. This is all a pretty high mountain. This is pretty good for a school section. I wouldn't do much to move that. This is a big mountain. Some of this stuff back here, but you would, really want to take consideration of every square inch considerably, and how you want to then, not necessarily just from a local standpoint, ask for, things to move in and help, but potentially a reason that could be beneficial to both parties here, because they're going to have a problem with high population, but not necessarily be able to jump into a little place like this with whatever node, for a couple of reasons. It's kind of already in the wheelhouse fine that you come in here and start a business. I'll work for you. These guys will work for you. Somebody will buy that property if you mess up the taxes, as long as you're cool about that and not really trying to say, well, if you're going to bring something in here, then I got to have some kind of insurance that, even if you don't make it as a company, that we can come in here and buy that up with some investor or something like that, or bring somebody in from whatever the books are. And here I said for the banks, that we have the credit union. That's more for cash and checks. It's for taking out loans and doing things with you before we get to the town office and some of those blue sites where we might need to use the NBT and something like Wells Fargo, what is it, JP Morgan, something along those lines. Because then you get this nice little M1, M2, MN, right? All these corporate loans, they go to the bank, the NBT, in case they need to fill off the loans because they're taking it from a higher structure that has a Fed evaluator to it. And at any point in time, because I need to have the Fed evaluator and to the numbers go through the books, I would need another sub-Fed evaluator equally like this. It's not really a sub evaluator. This is where the evaluation goes to from skill. You're not really a customer service person anymore. So what do? You come up and then you evaluate those. And when you get good with those skills, you kind of go out and you say that, hey, I had good notes from you. Now I'm getting a raise, or I can work from office somewhere's out, or work from my Sharps cabin in the woods out here to maintain books or something. And that's how it should work. But again, we just can't radically redesign this river even if we wanted to. We can't. That's a big mountain. Now without levels of engineering that weren't really correct. But again, we do have these flats down here. And we got to be able to figure out a way to either say the McDonald's is truly the zenith right there, which I don't disagree with. The public office, or the town office right here. Okay, maybe. But, what are we talking about inside here about Little Italy's and the liquor store across from the grocery store, or how to utilize that? Even it comes up, what are we doing with that town square? Is that really the most efficient thing? I don't think it would be real estate, right? That's not what's going to fly. But could a big factory right in the heart of town like that with a little bit of parking on top of it serve the same purpose? I mean, we got the golf course. There's this fishing hole up here. You got Fireman's Park. You got the baseball field, the football field. You got all this, there's that park down there. It's not really a park, but you got the fly fishing access down there by the river. Yeah, it's just not necessarily something we're going to jump into tomorrow, but it's something to consider.